So let's talk about trigger confirmation 1. Trigger confirmation 1 means I've got 0 contact with the trigger finger, right? So when it's time to press the trigger, I'm just slapping all the way through it. I'm not feeling for a wall. I'm not feeling like a touch press on the trigger and then pressing through. I'm trying to get after that trigger as aggressively as I can. How much movement, now granted I don't have my support hand on the gun, how much movement though is there in the gun?
Very little.
But little. Movement. Acceptable movement?
At close range.
At 7 yards in the A zone? Sure. I would also say it's going to kind of match up with the level of sight confirmation I need to have on that pistol at that point in time as well, right? They work together in unison, right? So confirmation 2 is whatever most people would consider a touch press. That touch press now is I'm making just touch contact with the face of the trigger. I am not prepping the trigger to any level. I'm just making a very, very light touch contact to the trigger. And from here, as I'm pressing the trigger, how much movement is there in the gun again?
Much less movement.
Yep, little less movement. The finger doesn't have to work as hard to make the gun fire.
You know where you're at.
Right. So confirmation 2 trigger press, that touch press, that's where probably the majority of our shooting tends to hover in. Like it or hate it. Most people are like, oh man, I prep the trigger on every shot. And I'm like, the lie detector test tells me, as I'm watching you shoot the gun, that you are not prepping the trigger to the level that you think you are. Most of us spend about 85% of our time behind the gun, pressing the trigger with maybe just a touch contact to the trigger. And of course, we release that touch contact to release the trigger, reset it, and then we make that touch contact before we press the trigger again. The moment that me or AJ or anybody, especially this little yellow contraption here, says it's time to get on the trigger, we abandon all hope of everything else and we go straight to confirmation 1, right? Which is, again, that is, I'm slapping the heck out of that thing, okay? Confirmation 3 is now that real traditional find the wall, right? So we're gonna add a little bit of pressure. We're gonna remove all the take up out of the trigger. We're gonna find that wall and we add just a little bit more pressure to fire the shot. Where would I use that confirmation 3?
25-yard head box.
25-yard head boxes. What it didn't even have to be 25 yard. What if I said I need to shoot a one-hole group at 3 yards? I can't slap the hell out of the gun. I might be able to use a touch press to do that, right? That confirmation 2, but it's going to be someplace between confirmation 2 and confirmation 3. Perhaps I start with a little bit more prep and press on the first shot, and then when the gun cycles, now I release it. Now I just find a touch press and I press the trigger again over and over and over again, and that's enough to confirm the sights and confirm the trigger that they match up for the shot needed. But you can't do the exercise when AJ or I are asking you to give us a confirmation 2 sight picture, where I need to see the sights lift and I have to see a steady return of the sights to a spot, and then expect it to a spot now means I can apply a confirmation 1, hi-ya, every single time we come to press the trigger again and again and again. So you're expecting stability in the sights, and then you're creating instability in the gun every single time you trigger it. Right? Again, they're not mutually exclusive. They have to work together. Okay? So that's what we need to work on. Just a little bit. I'm not saying every single trigger press now needs to be a confirmation 3, a prep and press, right? Or that bullseye type of trigger press. I need someplace between a 2 and a 3. I cannot have a between a 0 or 1 and a 1.5. I need to add just a little bit more composure on the trigger so as to stabilize the sights. What's happening is precisely this, right? So we see nice composure, the gun lifts, the gun returns, and then somewhere along the way we go, I gotta go a little faster. But instead of just letting it be seeing a little less and applying the same consistency to the trigger, we go, abandon all hope for a good trigger press. I'm gonna go faster by just taking out my baseball bat and I'm gonna whack against the trigger as hard and as fast as I can. And that violent disruption on the sights then is what's creating this. It's not that the sights are steering to the left. It's not that the sights are steering low and to the left. That is 100% your input on the gun because you refuse to match the trigger confirmation level to the amount of sight confirmation you need to have. So it's, again, there's kind of a dangerous slope. We immediately think fast, right? Oh, accuracy goes out the window. Does it have to? What happened on the last exercise we were doing? Did accuracy go out the window when we said, hey, Ron, go from 1 second splits to half second splits? Hey, Josh, go from half second splits to quarter second splits. All of you were 100% capable of keeping the gun in the same area with less visual confirmation. The moment you guys get wrapped around that sound right there, we say, okay, visual confirmation is an absolute minimum and trigger confirmation doesn't exist. You can't have it that way, right? They have to complement each other. So this next one, we're gonna do the exact same string again, okay? Right where we're gonna pick up right where we left off, but I want you to focus on just applying a little bit more trigger confirmation to match the level of sight confirmation you need for the shot. And see if that fixes these little guys and these little guys and some of these upper guys that some of you have, okay?